So, welcome to Stay Treat 2020. I am produced by You Define Wellness. I am Rhonda Bullish-Lampo and your host for today. Each day we're setting aside time after lunch for intention setting with one of the You Define Wellness Network providers. And today we have Jule Lane of Puzzle Over Me. And so Jule Lane has been praised by many for her strong work ethic and passion for teaching and facilitating growth in others. Miss Lane is on a mission to help breathe life back into individual souls who are just existing by guiding them on a journey of self-discovery and joy. She is a licensed clinical social worker of 25 years and has owned her private practice, Puzzle Over Me, for the past 15. She holds a master's degree in social work and a four-year certificate in biblical study. Ms. Lane positively impacts youth and adults in a variety of settings, including homes, schools, and workplaces, and is an energetic speaker at many community organizations. Ms. Lane lives each moment of her life with intention, finding time to volunteer at her church and enjoy the great outdoors with her husband, son, and dog. So welcome, Jule.
Hi, as Rhonda said, I'm Jule Lane, and I'm grateful to Denise O'Malley, the founder of You Define Wellness, for finding a way to connect us during this time when we're being told where we can go, who we can see, what we can do. And I'm just excited to be here today to share this with you. So my biggest fear is technology, so we'll just pray that it all works well and my slides come up. And I have lost internet at different points, or connection, so if that happens, I'll try to jump right back on. So I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. So as we sit with this information of the pandemic, as it continues to unfold day after day, getting more limiting, we might feel scared, confused, sad, angry, and more. We may start experiencing all the losses that are occurring in our lives for our family and our friends. Watching the daily news becomes all-consuming with pandemic updates. It may be all that we can think about. We watch as the number of people with the virus rises, as well as the number of deaths all around the world. When we go to the grocery store or even walk in our neighborhoods, all we see are faceless people with masks instead of smiles. Barren are the gymnasiums and grass fields of vibrant youth running around, passing, shooting, laughing as they participate in the sports they love. Deafening is the silence at the empty space in the school grounds and the playgrounds. When we turn off the news and sit in this quiet and ask ourselves, is this real? Is it really happening? Are the many seniors in high school and college going to miss their proms, graduations, and parties? Are youth going to miss a whole season of playing the sports they love? Will we or someone we know lose our job, our income, our security? Will our family, friends, or even ourselves get sick or worse, die from a virus without a treatment? This is a lot to take in for anyone. We continue in isolation, sitting with this ever-growing statistics and our thoughts racing around and around in our minds. There isn't much hope for finding peace in the midst of this storm. Our amygdalas will be triggered, sending us into more panic and overwhelm. As we look around the walls of our homes, no matter the size, we do not see an escape. The same people are with us day in and day out, or we're sitting there all alone. The world is shutting down around us, and there is nowhere to go. Watching endless TV, surfing the internet, playing video games nonstop, talking on social media, it may numb us for a moment, but it doesn't seem to work as well when all of the distractions in our life have been taken away. When the world slows down, leaving us with time, quiet, and of course ourselves, we don't know what to do. Why? This is what we always say we want: more time, quiet, a slower pace. And then we're going to do the things we've always said we're going to do. Then we're going to deal with working on ourselves, making ourselves better. Then we're going to get our home organized, clean out the garage, all those closets, the storage area. Then we'll fill in the blank. I'm sure you have something that you can place there. So here we sit in exile of a pandemic with more time, a slower pace in ourselves. And so many of us are restless and discontent. There's an ache in our heart and a deep gnawing in our soul. We thirst for something more, for someone or something to fill this ache, but it seems that nothing we do quenches it. A French philosopher, Blaise Pascal, said, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." This is exactly what we're being asked to do at this time, if we want to protect ourselves and others from this virus. It may feel uncomfortable when we meet face to face with ourselves, stripped of all we think we are in the midst of our busyness and distractions. We have to ask ourselves, who am I without my titles and labels? Who is walking around in my body? Who do I see in the mirror? Do I know that person? Do I want to know that person? Am I more than just a physical being? So when we reach this place, we need to stop and breathe. So let's all take a breath right now, breathing in and breathing out. Here in this moment is where we have the opportunity to make a choice. We have some say in our life. We can reframe this pandemic from one of fear and isolation to one of love and connection. Yes, we do have many losses, and we must say them and grieve them, but ruminating on them is not helpful to us. We are being given a gift. Instead of running from fear, here lies the critical question for us. Do we want to accept the gift of time and open it with curiosity and bravery? To use this time to learn more about ourselves so we can be at peace with who we are. To prioritize our life and let go of the emotional and material clutter. Will I accept the gift of time to set intentions that move me forward in my journey to love and connection, or will I continue to be haunted by fear and loneliness? Let's take another breath to center ourselves in this moment, so we can open our hearts, open our souls to listen and learn how to set intention during this pandemic so that we can take some control back over our lives. So the first piece we need to focus on during this pandemic is really being intentional in our lives. Every single thing that we do needs to have an intention behind it. We need to accept that what's going on is normal, to be stressed and to grieve our losses. Journal them, release them. They are out of our control. Focusing on them brings our amygdala online, as I said. Then we turn on our protective mechanisms. We either want to fight, flight, or freeze. That only increases anxiety and depression. And yes, we have lots of losses. And for some of us, maybe we were dealing with stuff before the pandemic, and the pandemic has exacerbated it. We may be dealing with friends, family who have the virus, or maybe who have really gotten sick or died from it. Maybe there's other big things going on in our life and we are in complete overwhelm. So it's super important to know that this is normal and it's okay. And if you need help and support, therapists are considered a necessity in this time of the pandemic. Therapists are working. It may just be through telehealth now, through video conferencing like this. So please reach out if you need help from a therapist during this time and need extra support. Keep a routine, have a schedule, be intentional about it. Each evening you should sit down and plan what your day will look like the next day. Try to get in a routine of getting up the same time, having breakfast the same time, putting play, relaxation in your day, putting time in there to accomplish stuff, going to bed at the same time every night. Be intentional about that. And it's super important to identify your self-care needs and make adjustments depending on this situation. So for me, I have a need to work out every day, to be physical. It helps me decrease my stress and adjust my nervous system. Gyms are closed. So what can I do in the midst of this pandemic to still take care of my needs? We may need to go, we may need to adjust, like the place we do it. Maybe we go outside now. Maybe we practice Pilates inside. So it's just important to identify our self-care needs. And I think something else that may come up during this time is we might realize we don't have a plan. We don't have any coping mechanisms. We've never thought about that. Maybe we've kept ourselves so busy and we don't know how to care for ourselves. So now's the time to sit down and make a plan for what your needs are and how you're going to cope with them. And again, it's important to move your body daily because it does reset your nervous system. So you might need to go online, go on the TV and watch workouts. If you don't have weights in your house, maybe you can find things that weigh about the range that you're wanting to use and improvise, make them your weights. Again, taking hikes, going on walks, running, there's different ways that we can move. But it's super important that we move our body every day, and it does help readjust our nervous system. We need grounding techniques, keeping us in the present moment, because that will help stop the rumination. Our mind will go over and over and over something until we have a solution. And one way we can bring ourselves out of our thinking mind is to be in the present moment. So we need to ground ourselves. And to do that, that means paying attention to what's going on around you. So if you're in a room, you can look around the room and you may decide, I'm just going to look for things that are red or brown. You may decide, I'm going to count every object in the room. You can close your eyes and just focus on sound. What are the sounds I'm hearing in the present moment? You may want to carry an object around with you. So depending where you are, you always have something that you can grab, that you can pull out. Maybe a stone or something that you feel and hold on to. It can bring you into that moment. You can look at it, see what color it is. That helps ground us. So being in the present moment will help take us out of our thinking mind. Deep breathing. Breath is such a gift. It can really help reset the nervous system and help turn on our relaxation part of our body, part of our brains. But with deep breathing, it can be so beneficial, but there are some of us, depending on trauma in our lives, that it may not help. And I've had experiences with many people who feel so frustrated because meditation and breathing has been one of the key components that's proposed as a way to cope with stress, and it doesn't work for them. It increases their anxiety. And that's normal, depending on your circumstances. So with any of these techniques, if something doesn't work for you, let it go. It's not the right one for you. So if breath works for you, it can really calm and relax you. And if it doesn't, don't worry about it. Practicing self-compassion, speaking kindly to ourselves. This is so important right now. If we are not able to stay with ourselves and love ourselves through this, especially at a time when we're more isolated and don't have as many connections, our brain, our thinking mind is just going to keep us in overload and overwhelm. So with self-compassion, it's helpful if we can put our hands to our heart. We can put our hands on our face. We can maybe just kind of hold our hands. We can hug ourselves. We can even kind of rock. These are all ways to self-soothe. And as we're doing that, we need to come up with compassionate things to say to ourselves. So we might want to just say, It's okay to be anxious. Life is different now. I'm not alone with this. Everyone around the world is with me. I'll adjust. I'll get used to my new routine. I'm safe. I'm okay. So any type of self-calming phrases that you can say to yourself, and putting our hands on our heart, touching ourselves, all of that is a part of connection. And it turns on our oxytocin hormone, which is it's known as our feel-good hormone. So oxytocin is super important during this time. And if you're isolated alone, it's hard to do. Self-compassion is a way we can do this. Putting our hand to our heart, it just opens up that oxytocin. Another way with self-compassion, another thing we can do with self-compassion, if you have children, it's really important to sit and teach them these skills so they have a way to self-soothe. And connection, again, is going to be important with family and friends, people who are supportive of you, who love you, who care about you. It's important to connect to them. I prefer on the phone or FaceTime, preferably not social media unless it's your only way to connect. And that's because our nervous systems regulate with someone else's nervous system. We have sensors all around our eyes, things that we hear. It tells our nervous system if we're safe, if we're loved, if we're okay. And when you're doing that on a device, you don't get that feedback. So you may not feel any better talking on a device because you're not getting those sensory connections. And when we connect with someone that we love and who loves us and really cares about us, oxytocin again comes out, the feel-good hormone. So if we're doing that with a device, the oxytocin that is released, we start connecting with the device. This can create an addiction to that device because that's what we're connecting to, not the person. Be intentional about the time you're on technology. And it's really hard because it's really all we have at this moment to connect with people. We really limit our times. It is not good for our brains. It puts us in overload. There's so much information out there, and a lot of it isn't even true. So it's really important that we set intentional time limits for ourselves with technology. Spending time outside. Nature is healing to the nervous system. It resets it. So anything we can do outside, even if it's just for a moment to feel the sunshine on our face. Eat nutritious foods. We want to build our immunity, and we want to avoid like caffeine and sugar, which may be comforting to us now, but it increases anxiety and depression. Spend time petting your pets. Again, it helps relax the nervous system, sends out the oxytocin. Grateful. We really need to be intentional about finding things we can be grateful for during this time. Identify kind acts we can do. Even though we're limited to our homes, there's still great things that we can do to serve others. Some of the things that, if you think about the people who are really serving us now and are in overload, our healthcare systems, maybe the police department, people in those type of jobs, we could send them thank you notes. We are able to do that. We can sit in our home, write nice thank you notes, and mail them out. We can send them to nursing homes, people who are alone and maybe are not allowed to have visitors or anything right now. If you have children, you can have them make them cards and things that they can look at, send them drawings. How are we doing on time?
You have a few minutes left, so I think you're doing well.
So another thing is the more projects that we have that are kind of on our minds that we never get to because we're so busy, this would be a time where we can make a list of these projects and start tackling them. We can maybe set 10, 15, 20 minutes a day and just do a little bit at a time, but it relieves some stress, some pressure on ourselves at this time of overload. And it gives us a sense of control because it's something that we can do and we are actually accomplishing something. So Another way we can do intention setting besides in each moment, in all those categories we just talked about, we may have a thought or belief inside of ourselves. So we need to sit with ourselves and identify our feelings and beliefs that we have about this pandemic. Super important to get in touch with our soul. What is going on inside of us? And it's important to remember that we know the truth, we know beauty, and it is inside of ourselves. Our soul guides us, our higher power guides us. God is there directing you at all times. So in this time of need, we need to sit down with ourselves and listen to ourselves. And remember, it's a journey, so we're not there to reach a goal immediately. So make our intentions short and to the point, like one sentence. Make them actionable, something that we can do that's going to benefit us spiritually, mentally, physically. There may be something that is limiting us. When we're sitting with ourselves, we'll find that we have this limiting belief. So it's important that we make it actionable, something that we can work towards achieving. Positively stated. We want the intention to be in a positive tone. So you may want to state, I may not change myself quickly, but I can choose kindness towards my anxiety today. I can work out, or I can do deep breathing, or whatever you want to put in there. Versus, I'm just always going to be an anxious person and there's nothing I can do about it. We want to internalize our intention. So we can do this. We want to write it down. We want to say it out loud. You can put Post-its of sticky notes all over with what your intention is for that day, that belief you're trying to change. Notifications on your phones to remind you throughout the day. Visualize yourself living out that intention, becoming what you imagine. It just needs to become a part of your everyday breath. And use your intention then for decision making. If you have a decision on what are you going to eat right now, and you feel like you want to have a lot of sugar or caffeine, if you go back to your intention, you can say, well, I'm going to be kind to my anxiety today, and eating caffeine is not going to help that. Eating sugar is not going to help that, so I'm going to make a different choice. So going back to all of our, to our intention when we do our decision making will help us stay on track. Let's take another breath in and out. I know I shared a lot of information today, and I hope you found something that will be useful for you now and hopefully after the pandemic. Breath is a good part of this experience, and breathing in anything good, you can sit with that in your day. Breathe in your intention, and you can breathe out anything that keeps you from that intention, letting go. So remember, living an intentional life, it's a journey. It's not something you're going to achieve immediately. Being intentional happens one moment at a time. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself breaks because it is a stressful time. And remember, if you need more support during this time, there are therapists like myself and others who are part of the You Define Wellness Network that you can contact. There's also crisis lines you can talk to, checking with your insurance network if you're needing support. Thank you for sharing your time with me. And I am so grateful that we had this opportunity to connect.
Thank you, Jule. I understand you might have a new group that you're setting up.
Yes, I'm wanting to offer to everyone now, just during this pandemic time, a free video support group, probably with Zoom. And if you're interested, just email me at puzzleoverme@mac.com. And I'm hoping to start it soon. It's not going to be like a normal support group. I am going to have guidelines for it and facilitate it, but we're not going to be getting, it's not going to be therapy, and you're not going to be getting advice on what to do. It's just kind of a shared space where we can support each other in processing these emotions that we're dealing with during this time.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I just want to remind everybody that I did post in the chat Jule's email address, so puzzleoverme@mac.com. Jule owns Puzzle Over Me, obviously. You can look her up in our provider directory at youdefinewellness.com and connect with her there as well. So we're going to take a really short break.